The Imperfect Palace, a bard's parable. In the world of Riven, there was a bard who had 3 sons, and he was moved to tell them this story. There once was a boy who was born into a pleasant kingdom, and as a child, he and his family were invited to live in the king's palace, and to eat at the king's table, and to drink the king's drinks. Moreover, the king gave the boy and his family many gifts. While living in the king's palace, the boy enjoyed playing in the king's verdant gardens, happily dozing beside his warm hearth and joyfully feasting at his bountiful table. However, some time after the boy grew into a man, he went for a stroll around the beautiful palace's grounds, and as he walked along the curtain wall that surrounded the palace, he came to a place where a single stone of that wall was out of place. Thus, day after day, the young man walked about the palace, but every stroll ended with the boy standing and puzzling over that single mislaid stone. Finally, the young man could take it no more. He asked himself, "How can I live another day in such an imperfect place?" And so, he packed up his belongings, which the king had given him, and he set out to find some other palace in which to live. Thus, he went from palace to palace, but none were as grand as his former home. In the end, he was forced to settle for a ramshackle shed. This house was less than a hovel. It leaned so dreadfully to one side that it was sure to fall over some day. Its roof leaked when it rained, and the wind blew through its walls. There was no table at all, and barely any food to set upon it if there had been one. Many days passed, and in all that time, the young man was cold, wet, hungry, and miserable. Then the good king, who lived in that imperfect palace, came and found the young man in his hovel. The young man was very embarrassed because of the shack where he lived. "Why did you leave my palace to live in this hovel?" the king asked with a furrowed brow. The young man answered, "How could I live in a palace with a mislaid stone?" The king gazed at the young man with a very sad expression. "There is no longer a mislaid stone in my wall," the king declared with a silent tear, "for when you left, the mislaid stone was removed, and now there is only an empty hole where that stone once was. I have come to recover that stone and put it squarely back into its place."